is an illness which is wrecking the lives, destroying the careers of hundreds of thousands of people in this country. It can paralyse them, patients can lose their speech, often they can't walk or work. But instead of sympathy, they are sometimes labelled hysterical cranks or just plain lazy. The illness itself is sneered at, dismissed. Hardly any research is going on into its cause or its cure. Is this a modern plague or just a malingerous charter? Tonight, we are investigating ME, the secret epidemic. Dr. Stutterford, what is ME in your view?
Esther, we don't know. We haven't made up our minds in medicine yet what it is.
What do you think it is?
But I think it's just a group of symptoms which can give rise to physical as well as emotional and mental illness. And I am very impressed by the fact that so many get better when you treat them with antidepressants.
So you think it's a kind of depression?
I think it may well be a kind of depression.
Right, right. Finish what you're saying. You think it may well be?
May well be a form of depression because patients will not realise that depressed patients become ill and therefore they resent being described as having depression.
Well, clearly some people do. Do you resent it, being described as depression?
Well, it's not that I resent it, but I mean, I don't really look very depressed, do I? I mean, I was a head teacher, and I loved my job, and I played squash, and I produced concerts with the children, and overnight, I was like a vegetable, suddenly. And the most terrible pains, I poured with sweat, and I have to say, it stank. It was the most evil sweat.
So ME patients are smelly, are they?
Absolutely smelly. But also, I couldn't think properly, and I couldn't speak properly, and I lost so much power in my muscles. The only way I could comb my hair was to rest my elbow on something like this, and this was what it was like for me. I had no power in my muscles.
Now, there are a number of people here in the studio wearing sunglasses. That's another symptom, yes?
Absolutely.
You can't take light
or sound. It was as if everything was too much input into my brain.
Does this still sound like depression to you?
Yes.
Right.
No, wait a second. No,
yes.
wait, you see. Here we see the typical patient who doesn't understand that you get physical symptoms with depression, and it is so damaging to patients who are depressed.
Hold on a minute.
They get dismissed.
You've got one next to you. Now, Dr. Claire Fleming, you have ME, you have also had depression, yes? Were they the same?
Yes, no, they're not the same. Yes, I've had both conditions. I've had ME quite severely at its worst for 5 years, and I've now recovered.
What's the difference between that and depression?
Well, I had a short spell of depression in the middle, and it felt quite different. ME, just in a nutshell, was more like having a battery that just wouldn't hold its charge. I felt fine, and then I'd run short of energy and have to regroup. Depression felt quite different. It was very responsive to antidepressants, cleared up very quickly, but I was still left with the other symptoms which weren't touched by antidepressants.
A lot of other people seem to be very angry at that thought. I'll come back to you. Madam.
I'm not depressed. I've had ME for 11 years. I used to be the kind of person who would jump off a tower, think what I'm doing halfway down. And then I turned into this person who was frightened of everything. I couldn't cope with people with rooms. I've only now started going that through going to college. I would not choose to be like this. I used to have a life. I used to be out 2 or 3 times a day.
Let me stop you there, because people who are depressed don't choose depression.
No, but I was saying to him that I wouldn't choose to be like this.
No, but he's saying you've got a depressive illness. That's your trouble. It's just in your mind that you're feeling depressed, and this is what's preventing you from walking. You're in a wheelchair, yes?
I'm in a wheelchair because I can't...
Wouldn't you be depressed if you were like this? But we do not bring the depression on. The illness comes on. Obviously, you would feel unhappy about what's going on. But the only way to stop this is to be positive and to come forward and find a way out of this situation. We do not want to be depressed.
Well, let me just...
Let's ask Dr. Stutterford if he's aware of 3 different reports in the medical journals. First, from psychiatrists showing that many patients with this disease do not have depression. That's when they're seen by proper psychiatrists. Secondly, that these patients have very different hormonal abnormalities in their blood compared to patients with depression. And thirdly, the survey in The Lancet only a few weeks ago, which showed the only properly controlled trial of antidepressants in this condition showed no benefit whatsoever
from antidepressants.
if we're to deal with these one by one,
Yeah.
I think one has to realise there are different types of depression. And if we can deal with our patient with the dark glasses,
Yes.
who was previously so active and vital.
Yes.
Now, what she doesn't realise is that particularly when you get depression with physical symptoms, those people have obviously often got a very previously good personality. They are over-vital, overactive. They are the life and soul of the party, and they're the ones who very often get depressed.
Get depressed,
Now,
do you
yes.
agree?
Well, they may do, they may not. I think that the problem is, I think, rather wider. I think we're seeing here a tendency for a wide range of problems which people experience in life and in society to be relabeled in psychological and medical terms.
So you're saying it's the stress of modern living, it's, I don't know, being a woman, because a lot of the patients are women and having to do all the things that women have to do, superwoman, being career woman and wife. Is that what you mean?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the cause of these various symptoms is.
Yes.
But all that I can see is that we're seeing in society a whole range of different problems being defined in psychological terms.
So the cause is modern living. Do you agree, sir? Do you agree, Dr. Weir?
It may to some extent be due to modern living, related to the stresses of modern living, but the point here is that depressive illness has abnormal brain chemistry. So also does this illness, ME, but the brain chemistry in ME is quite definably separate and different from that
Different
of-
from depression?
Different from depression.
What causes it?
ME has many causes, of which probably the most common is a viral illness. But I see farmers in my rural practice who've had ME induced by pesticide exposure, for example. And one of the things which particularly concerns me is that all our foods have pesticide residues, and what proportion of people here are being adversely affected by chronic low-dose pesticide exposure.
So it could be a virus cause, it could be some sort of chemical cause, it could even be caused by depression. But whatever it is, it can be a terrible illness, can it not? Now, sir, your wife, Ellie,
Yes,
had this illness, had
That's
she
quite
not?
right, yes.
How long did she have it?
she had it for 6 years in total.
Now, we have a picture of Ellie. As we can see, she was a nurse.
That's right, yes.
It does seem to strike a lot of nurses, doesn't it?
It does, medical profession and dental profession as well.
What kind of person was she? Was she depressed at all before
Not
she...
at all, not at all, and she just loved life. She lived for the family and she lived for her nursing. She wasn't what you would call a high flyer. She was a hard worker. You have to be if you're going to be a mother and a nurse at the same time.
Now, she died tragically young, did she not?
She died at 52.
And do you feel the death was connected with the ME?
Yes, it was. It was obviously you don't die of ME, you
Yes.
die as a result of ME, and
Yes.
she died from a deep leg thrombosis for the simple reason that she was bedridden for the last, well, she was bedridden for 4 years. For 4 years. The last 3 of those years, she was unable, she was so ill that she was unable to see our youngest daughter.
Is this you?
That's right.
How did other people respond to this illness? Did they take it seriously?
Some people did, others again, you know, because they don't know enough about the illness, they just think that, you know, it's a malingerer, she's depressed, she's in a room, she won't see anybody else. But I really do think that if my mother, being a nurse and everything else, I mean, you know, not to see her own daughter for 3 years just for the sake of it, I think...
Did they try antidepressants and all those other drugs?
They did initially, and I think those probably did more damage.
Did they?
Yes, they seemed to. Yes.
My sister had depression and anorexia, so I believe that when I got ill that I had it. So they tried me on antidepressants, and because I was complaining of how tired I was, they gave me antidepressants to make me wake up during the day. Well, because of this, I didn't sleep for 40 hours and began sort of hallucinating and tearing up bedrooms because I was just so ill and I couldn't sleep at all.
So from your point of view, antidepressants were the worst thing you could have had at that stage. Have you still got ME?
Yes.
So you're still very tired?
Yeah, I have to use a wheelchair to go out now.
Dr. Stutterford, this is one of the problems, you see. A lot of people with ME find that antidepressants actually don't help the symptoms. They make them worse.
I think despite what Dr. Shepherd has said over this latest survey, earlier surveys show that an unexpectedly high proportion of patients who think they have ME do get better with antidepressants.
The doctors who treat patients with ME are obviously absolutely crucial. They make all the difference. That's where the patients, that's the gateway, if you like, to treatment. And so for this reason, for this programme, we've commissioned a special poll. It was conducted for us by NOP among 100 doctors, asking them what they think ME is. Less than a third, as you will see, thought of it as a physical illness. Almost 3/4 of them say it's a psychiatric illness or just a random collection of symptoms. Why does that matter? Because doctors who think it's all in the mind or who don't take it seriously as a physical illness can make it very painful for their patients. Peter, I know this sort of thing happened to you. What happened to you?
Well, I started getting ill around about 1989, and I was seen by various doctors, and in the end they decided to diagnose me as being school-phobic. And they threatened my parents with taking me into care unless they took me into school. So often my parents had to pretty much carry me out of my bed and into the car, and then drop me off at the gate and that.
An expert once said to me that there's a very easy test for school phobia. If you take someone with school phobia away from school, they get better.
Yeah.
But you were not better.
I was off school for about 4 or 5 years, and I was in a mess.
How do you feel now?
I understand it more now, and I'm more angry with the people who diagnosed me as school-phobic and the people who just put it down as a psychological thing.
My daughter has ME, and she was very fortunate because all our doctors diagnosed her illness very rapidly. But since I first wrote about her in a national paper, I've had 4,000 letters from distressed patients and their families. Some of the stories you've heard were very alarming. Some were about children with ME who were treated for hysteria by doctors, nurses and physiotherapists who tried to shock them out of their paralysis using the kind of methods they seemed to use in medieval days to punish witches. Michelle Golding is 18. When she was 10, she had chickenpox. But when the illness was over, she was left with a crippling fatigue. She lives in a darkened bedroom. She hasn't been able to walk for 4 years. Now she's developed another neurological illness, dystonia, paralysing her hand and her left side. She was treated in a hospital where they said her disease was all in her mind. Through it all, Michelle's courage has been quite remarkable.
I'm constantly tired and I'm in a lot of pain all the time. In my back, in my legs, and all over with aches.
What's been the most hurtful thing that's been said to you?
So many things that's been said that's hurtful, but when they say it's in your mind and that you can get up and walk, and that really gets me angry.
They can't say your hand is psychological, can they? They can't say that.
They used to.
What did they say?
They said that if they left it and let me hold my arm down to the ground, then gravity would pull it out eventually because I wouldn't be able to hold it in anymore. So they left it, and it's like that now forever.
Clawed up. Whereas if they'd splintered it or treated it, do you think it would have been all right now?
Yeah, I know it would because other people have had it and they're okay now.
One physio had left her on the floor for an hour and a half, saying that she could get up. Well, there was no ways that the kiddie could get up because she was unable to. She was ill. It wasn't in her mind. I mean, she was
found
ill.
her on the floor?
No, the physio kept her on the floor, and I insisted that they let her come back to the ward because I could hear me screaming.
What about the time they put you in the swimming pool? Does it distress you? Upsets you? Frightens you?
Makes me angry.
Tell me about it. Don't tell me if it distresses you.
No, I don't want to.
No, all right.
They put Michelle into the pool. It wasn't a full-size pool, it's like a sunken bath. And she sank to the bottom, and she had very, very long hair, and her hair was floating out around her. Her eyes were wide open, the bubbles were coming out of her mouth. And they told us that she would come up. But I could see she was stressed. There was no ways that kiddie was going to float because she swam like a fish beforehand. And I told them that if they didn't get her up, I would. So I went to step in and they lifted her up.
So she was underwater for
She was
all that
underwater.
time?
I know time, it seems forever, but she was under there for quite a while.
So what do you think is going to happen to you, Michelle?
I don't know. Every time I go to sleep, I speak to Mum and we both say to each other it might be better in the morning and I might be well, but I go to bed feeling just as ill as when I wake up.
Some people think that ME is a malingerous disease, that you're just lying here because you don't want to go to school. What would you say to that?
Well, they don't know what they're talking about because they haven't experienced it themselves or seen anyone who's going through it. Because if they did, then they'd realise that it's not.
Barbara, does that story of Michelle Golding ring any bells with you?
It certainly does, Esther. Yes, I can see my son as he was sort of 10 years ago with his hands in tight claws.
Now, what did the doctor say it was caused by?
At first they said it was just a virus he must have caught and it had affected the nerves of the tummy.
Then they started to blame you.
Oh yes, yes. When the day they came to take him from us without any warning, the two social workers, they took him out to the ambulance. We didn't know when we'd see him again or if we'd ever see him again. And they told Ian as they were taking him in the ambulance that they'd taken him from us because we were letting him die. Now that child could not speak. He'd lost his voice as well. He couldn't move or do anything.
Well, he can speak now, and we asked him what he remembered of that day when he was taken away from you.
One day, the local GP turned up. He said he had two social workers with him. They had a court order to remove me to a place of safety. And within about 10 minutes, an ambulance arrived. I was then taken away from my parents and put into a place of safety at the hospital, where I stayed for 6 months. Their main treatment there was on a psychological level. They believed my illness was all in my mind. So they tried different things, like in the swimming pool. They turned me upside down to see if I'd turn myself around to breathe. They put me on a ghost train to see if any shocks would make me jump. They put me in a standing frame. As I was paralysed in a wheelchair, they wanted to straighten my legs. But they left me in there one time too long and I passed out. And I basically used to, every so often, be taken into a room with a psychologist where he'd ask me if I was on his side yet and believed his story.
He seems quite calm about those memories. You don't seem quite so calm.
No, I'm afraid we'll never forget it as long as we live. The way we were treated worse than something that crawled out of the gutter, believe me. We'll never forget the day they turned up on our doorstep to take him from us, as though we were some evil people. We were accused of making him ill, of putting his life at risk, and all we'd ever done was fight to find out what was wrong with him and get him well again. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and as you can see, he is better. And to everybody here and anybody watching the programme, keep your mind set that one day you will be like Ian again and life will come back to you. And a very hard thing to do, but if you can do it, is to try and keep your sense of humour, because that is what keeps you going.
Did you keep your sense of humour during your son's illness when they were blaming you for it?
Our son had deteriorated so badly he was bedridden, and the doctor treating him decided he needed to be referred to an immunologist, who then proceeded to tell us it was a psychiatric case and we were causing him to be ill.
Did you have a name for the psychiatric case?
Oh yes, Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Now that is that terrifying illness when people actually maim, mutilate, sometimes kill children.
That's right.
And that's what you were being accused of?
Yes.
In fact, his attitude was, when I mentioned ME to him, he said, ME is what a few odd bods think they've got wrong with them, and there's a few odd bods out there that want to treat them. That's ME.
One thing that I've discovered, as soon as someone in your family develops ME, because there is no established treatment for it, no known cure, you do get inundated with all kinds of suggestions, recipes, medicines, which have cost some of our viewers a fortune, from aloe vera and evening primrose to electromagnetic healing, dowsing, hydrotherapy and cold baths. And then, of course, there is the Vega machine. Now, the Vega machine is a sort of black box. Is it, Dr. Sandon? Dr. Peter Sandon uses the Vega machine. In fact, he used to advertise in the local papers in the south of England that he used the Vega test on all kinds of complaints, including ME. Now, because we had had complaints about the way you used this black box, Dr. Sandon, we asked Heather Mills, ex-model, Olympic skier, to go and see you with one of our researchers with a hidden camera. And they took a film of the way you used the Vega machine to diagnose her.
So I've definitely got ME?
Yes, you have.
Right.
The next question is, which will come in this tray, of what level of severity is it?
Right.
You are at level 3 out of 5, which is pretty much an average.
Do you think you'll be able to cure it with these?
Yeah.
Whatever these are? Because when I called you, it's £65, isn't it?
That's right.
The first one, and then £10 on follow-ups.
£10 on quick tests. I obviously have had failures like everybody. The people who have failed because they have not wanted to get better.
So you think a lot of
Not-
it's psychological as well?
There is, well, there's a psychological aspect to every illness. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, it's there. But there are a number of people who don't want to get better.
But if I take it and I follow everything you say, it
You
should
take it
cure
and
me.
follow through. I see no earthly reason why you shouldn't be 100%. The ME association is so totally negative. It's
Is-
unbelievable.
In what way?
First off, that they won't contemplate anything but conventional medicine. I'm quite sure in my own mind that actually they don't want to find a cure.
Why? Because money's involved, or you want to keep the society
They
going?
want to keep
or-
the society going. They have this idea that I think that if a cure is not found, then the society is going to keep going. Now we've got Esther Rantzen, and her daughter's got it.
Why do
She
you
doesn't
call
want to get her daughter well,
Why do you call it Esther Rantzen?
because I am.
Who's this?
Esther Rantzen.
Oh, right.
I am disgusted with the way she behaves. I think she's done far more harm than good. But maybe one day the daughter will get sick and tired of it and say, look, I've had enough of this, I want to get better, and jump up and down on them, but it'll probably take a lot of doing. Because once Esther Rantzen gets on a bandwagon, it's difficult to get her off it.
Dr. Sandon, do you really think it is a bandwagon I'm on?
I was referring actually to your previous things during the That's Life thing on Valium and things like that.
No, you weren't. You were referring to
And-
ME, and you said actually that I didn't want to get my daughter better, didn't you? And you said that the ME Association don't want to get people better.
Well, they seem to be very close-minded in terms of looking at any other form of therapy. I'm not just saying homeopathy, there are many other forms of therapy out there. And it seems sensible that as conventional medicine, and remember I am a conventionally trained GP, doesn't have any answers, that we have to look elsewhere.
Well,
And
let's
let's
have a
look
look
positively elsewhere.
Let's look at where you look elsewhere. You use the Vega machine. Now, Heather, he said you had ME. You've been examined by another doctor. Have you got ME?
No, absolutely not. I'm in the gym 2 hours every day, and I'm training for the Olympics as a disabled skier, but in the able-bodied Olympics. And to be honest with you, Dr. Sandon, I really, really wanted you to have a definite cure. I only said to the BBC that I would go because I am so into alternative holistic health. I cured my leg because of that, and I thought, if this is going to work, fantastic. And I was hoping, I was cringing when you were saying, yes, you've got EDM. I was hoping that I was going to go along and you were going to say, you definitely haven't got ME, and then I could go back to the BBC and say, look, he's not just telling everybody they've got ME.
How do you feel about diagnosing someone with ME who's quite fit?
I feel actually very happy about it because there are two types of ME.
Two types of ME?
Yes. The first one is the one which we've heard described in many cases here, the person who goes down with glandular fever, with a heavy flu, something of that nature, and just doesn't get back up again. Right? Now, that's fairly easy to diagnose as ME. But there is another variety, and that is the person who gets it in childhood and who gets ostensibly over it. I say ostensibly because it very often happens in teenage life when they've got exams, they're leaving school and so on. they don't quite get better. Enough to lead a reasonably normal life. They may not get back to their original state of fitness.
Can you cure both kinds?
I see no reason why not.
Yes.
I had ME from the age of 8 until 33. I saw this lady on Meridian television behind me saying that she'd been to Peter and it had worked for her.
This is Dr. Sandon?
Yes, been to Peter Sandon, sorry. I would try anything. I was dreadfully ill. I went to see Peter and I can tell you quite categorically, it made me well.
Well, you were quite rude about the ME Association. Dr. Shepherd.
Well, at the ME Association, I think we get more complaints about Dr. Sandon than any other doctor, and
Why?
this is over the past 5 years. Well, let me first of all state that I don't have any problems with alternative medicine. A lot of patients are quite happy with alternative medicine, they do well. What I have a problem with Peter Sandon is that he is, one, diagnosing ME, encephalitis, allergy in these patients with a machine, the Vega machine, which has been dismissed by the Royal College of Physicians as having no scientific validity. So there's a serious danger that patients may be misdiagnosed as having ME when they've got some other serious condition which could be treatable. And secondly, he's claiming to cure patients with this condition with no published trials or evidence of this. Is contrary to our feedback, and I believe it's also contrary to the general guidelines of the General Medical Council.
Right, so you are diagnosing people with a machine that doesn't work and you're giving them cures that have no evidence that they work either.
Well, he is entitled to his opinion, and the same way so am I. The Royal College of Medicine, of course, is not looking at complementary treatments at all.
Well, it did look at the Vega machine, and it did say that there was no evidence it worked.
Well, it's working on a lot of other diseases, and quite often, occasionally, it gives me surprises in that it is showing that some people who think they have ME actually don't.
So why am I not cured then? Why am I not cured?
Because how long did you take the treatment?
For a year.
And did you come back and need others?
Yes, I saw you.
Because a number of people need to go through quite a few stages.
I went
Perhaps you didn't really want to get better. Perhaps that's what the trouble is. Let me just go back to Barbara Proctor now, because you have lived such a nightmare with your son taken from you and so on. What, above all, would you like to see changed?
The only thing I want to see change is doctors to accept ME as an illness and to help them.
Thank you very much indeed. Speaking personally as the mother of an ME sufferer, of course, I don't need convincing that it's a real illness. I just wish someone soon would discover the real cause and an effective cure. But they won't until all the doctors in our survey are equally convinced. So let's hope we've got a little way tonight towards that goal with the help of all the guests here in the studio. And you at home, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Next week, Esther Rantzen reports on the neighbours who've become mortal enemies. Monday night, 7:30, here on BBC One. You'll find further recorded information about help with ME by calling this number 0990 118811. That's 0990 118811. The lines are open until midnight.